Good morning. I think I accidentally scheduled this live for 1 p.m. and it normally goes at 11 a.m. So it's telling me I'm going on early, but I'm actually right on time. And I'm sorry for the confusion, but there's a lot happening in January. So hopefully you find me. This is like same bat channel, same bat time. Sorry about the scheduling issue, but we're here and we're ready to talk about January Whole30 Day 24. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching from. Hi, Kate. It's really good to have you here this morning. Thanks for joining us. Maybe a little bit slow as people catch up and catch in because I just now realized that somehow this was scheduled for 1 p.m., but that's okay. We're going to let people trickle in and say hello, and I'm going to talk about how your Whole30 is going, and we're going to talk about day 24 and answer all your questions and talk about all the things. And Henry's going to come in demanding pets, and it's going to be just the same kind of morning that it always is. So, how is everyone doing today? Let me know in the chat how your Whole30 is going, what we're thinking on day 24, how many NSVs you're racking up, how the week is going, and how I might be able to help you plan for the last 7 days, I guess we're in, if we count today. Oh no, this is day 23 and it's day 24. Goodness gracious, get it together, Melissa. Hang on, let me fix this right now. There we go. All right. I spent all morning on Instagram talking about how my concussion symptoms were like non-existent and I was doing so well. And I don't think this is concussion. I think this is just plain old forgetfulness or busyness, and that's okay. Lydia, good morning. I see people are jumping in now. Thank you so much. Good morning, Bobby. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, Lisa. Snowy southern Indiana. You got lemon water going and you're ready to go. It also snowed here overnight. So I got up this morning super early, went to the gym, came home, shoveled my whole driveway. We probably got like 2 inches overnight. Took Henry for a walk all before 7:30 a.m. I was an early riser this morning. I've got that Whole30. I'm not doing the Whole30, but I still have that Whole30 energy, which is how you know my food freedom plan is working so well. So good morning. We've got Whole30 HQ in the house as always. Thanks so much for jumping in and providing answers to questions and resources. Hello, Melissa. Hi, Kathleen from Ohio. Welcome back. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, Genevieve from Spain, who's checking in the evenings. We always love to see you. Day 24. That's a lot of dancing emojis. I hope everyone's feeling dancing emoji. Good morning. Good afternoon. Hi from Montreal. We have Pascal back with us. What did you make last night, Genevieve? Pea ham hash casserole. When we added peas back into the Whole30 program rules a couple years ago, I have never been more joyful over a program rule change because I love peas. Like I've always loved peas. I used to make this meal that my coworkers, like a snack and a kind of mid-afternoon snack that my coworkers would always make fun of me for. This was before my Whole30 days when I ate a lot of cottage cheese and I didn't realize how much cottage cheese was like upsetting my stomach. But I used to do a whole tub of cottage cheese and I would just put frozen peas in there, mix it all up, and then as the peas thawed, I would eat that. I mean, I would eat that today if I knew that it wouldn't bother my stomach as much as cottage cheese does. I used to love cottage cheese. There's so much protein in it. It was so delicious. Anyway, I think that sounds amazing. And I love adding a bag of frozen peas to my ground meat with stuff over stuff dish just to give me a little extra protein, a little extra carbs, a little extra deliciousness. So I love it. Bernadette, good morning. Hi from Denver. Crazy days happen. They do. You know it is. I'm juggling this morning. I'm like on Instagram answering questions about my concussion, and I'm on Substack. We're talking in the private member chat about how we navigate like mean people on the internet. How do we let it roll off our backs or tell ourselves that it doesn't matter, or like figure out why we're feeling so triggered? So that's a chat that's going on in my Substack app right now. And then I'm also planning for our Whole30 reintroduction YouTube live series. So I've got this whole schedule that I'm going to be sharing with you on Friday about what reintroduction is going to look like and the order in which we're going to reintroduce and on what days I'll have the lives and what we'll be reintroducing so that you can start planning. But I'm in the thick of that right now. And I also am going to be traveling in early February. I have to go to New York for some media. So I'm trying to figure out if I can tailor my lives around my trip to New York, because there's definitely one morning where I'm going to be recording Good Morning America in person, which I'm so excited for, but that means I won't be able to do my live. So we're going to figure it out. I'm working on that schedule right now. So there's a lot going on here, but it's all good stuff. Good afternoon. You've provided the structure without the rigidity. Ooh, I'm going to quote you on that. Can I quote you on that, Marianne? It provides all the structure without the rigidity. I often hear critics of the Whole30 saying that it is super restrictive. And I understand, I suppose, why they might say that. If you don't understand the point and the history and philosophy of elimination diets, if you're looking at Whole30 as just another diet on the internet that says you can't eat these foods because these foods are bad, then yeah, it looks pretty restrictive. If you understand that an elimination diet is designed to provide a framework and structure, short-term framework and structure, to help you identify food sensitivities and the way foods work for you. And then you add onto it the fact that we're not restricting calories, we're not restricting meal timing, we're not restricting portions. And then you look at all the foods that you get to eat over the course of those 30 days. Anybody scrolling through our Whole30 recipes Instagram feed is not going to look at that and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so sad and deprived during my Whole30. Oh, it's like sad diet food. Nobody's going to think that. So I really do believe that it does provide the structure that people can find so comforting and even freeing without the rigidity, because we are not saying that for 30 days, these foods are bad. We are not saying at the end of those 30 days, you should just keep eating like this, or you shouldn't eat those foods. What we're giving you is a program, a structure to help you identify what your life after Whole30 looks like, according to your definition of health, according to the foods that you find delicious, that you find worth it, that are family favorites or culturally significant. You get to decide. We're just giving you the structure to help you make the decision that is right for you. So I love that phrase, structure without the rigidity. I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, Marianne. And if I do decide to share it, I will definitely quote you. I will quote you as Marianne. Why? Bobby, on day 22, having friends over for dinner tonight and you're making Michelle Smith's drive-through burger bowls. Amazing. Nobody's going to be mad when you serve those at dinner. Nobody's going to look at that and think like, oh, Bobby must be on this weird diet again. Nobody's going to say that. Come on, serve them up with some Whole30 ranch or some secret sauce. Have a bunch of different condiments and ingredients. Those burger bowls are delicious. Maybe you do some air fryer fries or fried potatoes or roasted sweet potato fries in the oven. Fantastic. That's the perfect meal. Everybody's going to be so happy and so full and so satiated, and nobody's going to have that, hopefully, that sleepy after dinner, I can't even move feeling that comes with eating foods that don't work well for you. Hopefully nobody experiences that at your dinner party. Good morning, Katrina. It's good to have you back. Will reintroduction plan include options for plant-based Whole30? So yes, those are going to have to be two very different schedules. Here's the thing. This is going to get complicated because when you reintroduce original Whole30, you're reintroducing some foods that the plant-based Whole30 allows, like legumes and soy. When you reintroduce on the plant-based Whole30, you may decide to reintroduce animal protein. That's reintroduction schedule 1. Or you may decide not to reintroduce any animal protein. So that's schedule 2. So I will make sure to come up with a schedule for all of those different variations. And then I will probably do my best to have one YouTube live event that kind of talks about it as generally as I can, making sure that people who are doing both the original and the plant-based Whole30 get the information that they need when they need it. So yes, we will have reintroduction schedules for all of those options, because on the plant-based Whole30, you have 2 different tracks, depending on whether or not you want to go back to reintroducing any animal protein. So thank you for bringing that up and making sure that I remember to include that. Genevieve misses cottage cheese. I know, I miss it too. Whole30 is sharing a ham hash brown casserole with peas. That sounds so good. I'm going to make that for dinner tonight. Breakfast for dinner is happening. You love when you open your freezer and find things you were already eating that are Whole30 compatible, like fish or asparagus. Yeah, that's the best. My freezer is basically just full of meat because all I keep in there is my butcher box stuff, my get Maine lobster stuff, all of the seafood and the animal protein that I keep and freeze. I'm not a big freezer. I don't make a lot of extra food and then freeze it. That's just like not what my family needs. And I have the capacity and the time to meal plan and meal prep on a pretty regular basis. But I do have a ton. But I also have a bunch of frozen veggies in there. I have a frozen stir fry mix. I have frozen peas. I definitely have frozen butternut squash. Sometimes I have frozen berries. So yeah, it's fun to go shopping in your own fridge or your own freezer or your own pantry and realize that the stuff you have is actually compatible with the Whole30. So I like that. Laura is saying you're making the chicken avocado salad from Autumn's cookbook as you listen. I love that one. That's a really good one. Autumn's cookbook, Whole Food for Your Family, is a fantastic resource with a lot of really delicious budget-friendly recipes. I love it. Monica is saying, does Lactaid brand lactose-free cottage cheese bother my stomach? I haven't tried it, Monica, in a very long time because I tried it once after my Whole30 and I did not enjoy the taste. I didn't like it. It like wasn't worth it. So even if it didn't bother my stomach, I didn't enjoy it. I will say that I have had genetic testing done and I am not lactose intolerant. So whatever I don't react well to dairy, it is not the lactose. Or at least that was like the genetic testing that I did a while ago. I know you can develop lactose sensitivity or intolerance, but I suspect that it's more the whey component because whey protein shakes are by and large the absolute worst thing I can put in my body for my digestion. They make me feel like there's an alien in my belly. It is not pretty. So I suspect it's more the protein component of dairy, but I'm not 100% sure. And like, I don't miss it enough to really do like a deep dive and figure out what forms I could or could not eat. And also, I can get away with small amounts of cheese or sour cream with no issue. And who knows, I might be able to get away with small amounts of cottage cheese now with no issue. It's been ages since I've reintroduced it. And so, the answer is I'm not really sure, but I don't miss it enough to bring it back, to be honest. I have plenty of protein sources at this point, and dairy just, I don't know how to describe it other than I feel like dairy just like lowers my energetic vibration. That is not at all scientific. I have absolutely no foundational data basis for saying that, but I don't feel as good when I eat a bunch of dairy, so I just generally leave it out of my diet. That's it. So yeah. Okay. We have Autumn actually in the comments. So there you go. Autumn, I don't think there's a single live that's gone by that I haven't talked about your cookbook. So I'm glad people are cooking from it. Hey, Betsy, it's good to see you here too. Thanks for joining us. You realized it was 12:05 and you hadn't logged in. Oh, I'm glad that you're here, Brenda. I logged in a minute late, but also 2 hours early from when I actually scheduled it. So it turns out you're right on time. Don't you worry about it. Lisa is saying, I own having a different point of view now compared to when I first designed Whole30. Yes. Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate that. It would be weird, don't you think, if I and the program did not evolve and change and develop over a 13-year period. Nobody's the same person that they were 13 years ago. And one of the things I really love about Whole30 and about my team is that we are all deeply committed to not attaching to the way that things have always been done or the way we've always thought about it. And we are always really respectfully and productively challenging our own thought process, our own mindset, the science, the phrasing, the words that we use. We're always really good about that. And I'm really proud of that for us as well. I always want to provide the best information that I can, the most accurate information that I can, the most reliable information that's grounded in actual science. And when I look back at some of the leaps that I made between what the research was saying and the recommendations that I wrote down in a book, sometimes I stretched it. And I didn't necessarily realize then that I was stretching it. And I also didn't realize how important that kind of scientific credibility really was for the program. And now we do. So we're going through, a lot of research right now to review the Whole30 program rules and the science behind it. When we have enough evidence to make a rule change, we make it and we talk about it and we write about it and share about it. I'm always open to talking about what's different between my first books and the things that I'm writing today, and even in my own evolution and journey, since I've always been the one to do all of the writing, it makes sense that as I would change and evolve and grow as a person, that the program would. So thank you very much for acknowledging that. That feels really nice. And I'm glad that it makes you happy too, because it certainly makes me happy and it makes me feel like we are living in our integrity, which I like. Emily is saying, can't believe it's already day 24. Yes, in Whole30 day by day, if you have the journal and you open it to page 158, I open by saying it's day 24, but if it weren't for this handbook, you'd have lost count by now. This is right around the point of time where people go, I don't even know what day it is. I just feel really good. This feels really easy. Like, I know I have some more time left. I know I'm not done, but I just stopped really keeping track of the days. And I think that's a really great testimony to how comfortable this feels, the new habits that you've built, the mindset that you've worked so hard to cultivate, your commitment to yourself and to the program. That's all reflected in you showing up saying, can't believe it's already day 24. Didn't even realize it. So I love to hear that, feeling fully connected to my body and what I truly need. It's the best. That's going to carry over into absolutely everything. So I'm really glad to hear it, Emily. Thank you so much. Pascal is saying, I feel like I have more food freedom and I spend less time obsessing over food on the Whole30. I mean, there are a lot of people, like hundreds of thousands of people, who have said the Whole30 program rules feel very freeing, because I know that this is only a short-term experiment that's designed to teach me about the way foods work in my body. I understand that. And also, it's really nice to be given these guidelines or guardrails around what I am and am not eating for 30 days. Especially if you're in a busy period, a richly scheduled period, a time of stress, it can feel good to have one decision taken out of your hands. To say, no, you're not drinking alcohol for the next 30 days. So you don't have to get home from a really stressful day and have this argument with yourself for a half an hour about whether or not you're going to have a glass of wine. That is burning through willpower, burning through executive function. It's a lot of work. And that decision is now out of your hands because you made a commitment to the program and wine is not on the table. So it's like, okay, what else do I need? What else could I do? How else could I self-soothe? How else could I relieve anxiety? How else could I take good care of myself in this period between a stressful workday and me coming home to relax? So a lot of people say that the 30-day program rules really do feel like a lot of freedom. And I love and I appreciate that. And the best part is that at the end of those 30 days, you're going to get to reintroduce. And then you're going to get to take what you've learned and create your own set of rules, guidelines, parameters, whatever you want to call them, in whatever way works best for you. Some people don't want any rules whatsoever. Great. Don't have them. Don't call them that. Instead, what you do is you just think conscientiously, is this worth it? Do I want it? That's not a rule. That is a commitment to checking in with yourself before you automatically say yes. Great. Don't have rules. Other people feel really good with the concept of rules that they get to create for themselves. So my rule is when I'm traveling for business, I do not drink alcohol. That is my rule. And it's a hard and fast rule because it serves me 100% of the time. And there has not been a single time that I've broken that rule while on a book tour and been happy that I did. Every single time I'm like, why did I do that? This is never worth it. I don't sleep as well that night. And then I wake up early and then I don't have the energy to go to the gym. And then I just don't feel good and I have a headache and it's just not worth it. I feel very comfortable with that rule that I have created for myself. You can do it any way you want in your food freedom. You can call it whatever you want. You can structure it however you want. We can talk about abstainers versus moderators. But if the idea of the parameters of the Whole30 feel very freeing to you, then I think that's absolutely fantastic. You should run with it. You should enjoy it while it's here. And then when it's time to reintroduce, you'll have a new set of parameters to reintroduce by. So I think that is fantastic. Erin is talking about digestion. Your stools are still really loose. Is it normal? It can be, for sure. When I did my first Whole30, I had loose stools, bordering on diarrhea, for probably 6 weeks. My gut really took a long time to adjust. Gosh, maybe even 8 weeks, because I definitely remember it being well after my Whole30 was over and thinking, my digestion still isn't good. What am I doing wrong? And I just needed more time because I stayed eating mostly Whole30 long after my Whole30 was over. This was way before the idea of reintroduction. like a solid reintroduction plan or food freedom. But I was like, I feel so good. I don't want to go back. I'm just going to keep eating like this for the most part. And I did. And eventually it definitely evened out. It could be that you are eating a lot of raw vegetables, a lot of like roughage, or maybe just a ton of fiber based on the foods that you are choosing. And that's contributing to loose stools. It could be stress. It could be hormones. It could be some kind of gut dysbiosis that a Whole30 can't rectify all by itself, in which case I would say you would go work with a functional medicine doctor or an MD to do some stool testing, maybe when your Whole30 is over, or now if you feel like that would be super helpful, just to check under the hood and see if there's anything going on, if there's any dysbiosis, if maybe there's like a parasite or if you have something going on. I'm not saying that there is. I'm just saying this could be a lot of different things. It could be that you're eating a lot of fat in any one meal and your body is having a hard time processing that much fat. And so your stools are loose as a result. So I can't say for sure. Obviously, go check with your doctor, check with a functional medicine doc or your MD just to make sure that everything is okay, that you don't have a really mild form of food poisoning or that you're not fighting something off. Or like, I know when I get my period, I also get diarrhea. And I've read a scientific explanation for why that is, but like maybe it has to do with your cycle. I can't say for sure. It could be very normal, or it could mean that there's something else going on that you might want to take a look at and address with a medical doctor or a functional medicine doc or somebody who's going to be able to like actually look in your stool and see what's going on with your gut bacteria. So that's what I will say. And if it is so uncomfortable that you feel like it's making your Whole30 difficult, absolutely stop your Whole30. If at any point you get to some sort of side effect or experience on the Whole30 where you think this is so not fun, this is so not worth it, that I don't think I should continue this Whole30 because my body is telling me that the way I'm eating right now is not working well for me, you should absolutely discontinue. That goes for the original Whole30, and that especially goes for the plant-based Whole30, because people who do a plant-based Whole30, you have more things in your diet by design because you need to make sure you're eating enough animal protein. That can be really tough on digestion, and not everybody does really well with that amount of beans or lentils or chickpeas in their diet. So if it's not a failure to say, I'm going to stop my Whole30 because I'm having this side effect that doesn't feel good, and then I would encourage you to talk to a specialist to figure out, okay, is there a way you're approaching your Whole30 that's not working for you? Like, I'm doing huge salads and lots of raw vegetables and tons of high FODMAP vegetables, and like that's just not working for you. Or start with some stool testing to make sure that you don't have something going on behind the scenes that you would want to address that diet alone isn't going to fix. So those are my recommendations for you. Good morning, Elena. You're a little late. No problem. People are checking in whenever you want. You can just drop in, watch anything you missed on the replay, keep it on in the background while you're doing your stuff. Julie is saying when you cut out eggs, you haven't had any issues. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that there might be things in a Whole30 framework that just don't work well for you, right? So the program eliminates a lot of the most commonly problematic foods, but you can be sensitive to anything. And the program does still include tomatoes, and it does still include eggs, and it does still include nuts and nut butters. And those are very common foods for people to be sensitive to and to have digestive issues with. So it's also possible, like maybe keeping a food journal could help. Is there anything that you're eating a lot more of on your Whole30 that you weren't before that's perfectly Whole30 compatible, like the salads or like tons of cauliflower? Like maybe you're just turning cauliflower into everything and it's in 2 meals a day, every single day, and that's just too much for your body. It's a very high FODMAP vegetable. So maybe keeping a food journal could help as well. Or even, taking your Whole30 back for a day or two, even more, to a very simplified version of Whole30 where it might be boring for a day or two, but like you're eating chicken breast and sweet potatoes, just a couple foods that work really, really well for you, and see if that makes a difference. There's a lot of experimentation you can do within the Whole30, but again, if it feels like it's too much work or if it feels like it's just too unpleasant to continue navigating, I absolutely would encourage you to stop the Whole30 and seek help with someone who can help you figure out exactly what's going on specifically. Kathleen is tagging on 10 days at the end. I totally remember that. You plan on taking notes and continue watching the reintroduction webinars. How to maximize your time and benefits even though you have more time. So I would say if you're going to add 10 days on at the end, first of all, there are plenty of people who started their January Whole30 later in the month. So you're certainly not going to be the only person who's doing a Whole30 or still on their Whole30 at the end of January. You could reach out on the Whole30 forums or on any of the Whole30 social media feeds or ask people in this chat, hey, did anybody start late? Or is anybody going to add extra days at the end and you could be in some kind of like buddy system with? So you could connect on social media, on Facebook, on the forum, on Reddit, on Instagram, wherever you happen to have a platform, or even via email if you want to exchange emails, and you can get support and encouragement there. Another great way for you to stay connected, Kathleen, is for you to actively support people who are starting a Whole30 in February. So January is a huge month. People start the Whole30 on January 1st or January 2nd, whenever we decide to run a big group Whole30. But what happens is that February is also a huge month for us, because what happens is that people who do the January Whole30 experience incredible, tremendous success. And everybody around them is like, what are you doing? What have you done? Tell me about it. And then they say, okay, I think I want to do a Whole30 now. And they start February. So you can maintain your Whole30 commitment and energize your Whole30, which is kind of the theme of day 24 and day by day. You can energize your Whole30 by helping people who are new to the program, because who better to help than somebody who has 30 days of experience on it? So that would be a really nice way for you to stay connected, for you to stay engaged, to energize your program over those extra 10 days. And then when you're ready to reintroduce, come back and start watching the lives when you're ready to reintroduce, so you don't miss any of that info either, and you can watch on your own schedule, on your own timeline, whenever you choose. So I love that for you. I think that would be a great plan. I also don't really see a reason that you couldn't sit in on the reintroduction lives. Yes, you have 10 more days of Whole30, but getting reintroduction advice and encouragement and hearing what people are saying about the reintroduction period on the tail end of your Whole30, I think could be a really great way to segue into reintroduction and to help you plan and prepare even better. So that's the other thing you could do, is just continue to stay connected and continue to watch the lives. And I know we would love to have you. So all of those are available to you. And I think any one of those would be helpful for your last 10 days. Dee Dee is like, late, but I made it. Totally. No worries. No idea what day it is. Same. Doesn't matter. We're just like going. We're just rolling with it. Julie is saying it's empowering to know what I can eat without dealing with the consequences of food sensitivities. I'm really glad. What this tells me is that you've pulled things out of your diet and you feel better right now. So that tells me that there's something that you were eating, or a few things that you were eating, that weren't working great in your system, or maybe weren't working great in the quantity or frequency with which you were eating them. And now you feel great. And you have this like new level of normal, which is fantastic. And this new level of normal is now your baseline for you to base all of your, is it worth it? Do I want it decisions? Because if you feel this good and you ask yourself, is it worth it? And you say, okay, based on my reintroduction experience, I know if I eat this, I feel this good now, and it's going to take me down to here. That's not worth it. Right? But okay, based on my reintroduction experience, I feel this good. And I know if I eat this, like it might knock me down to here, but like that's worth it. So it will give you such a good baseline and a good metric by which to judge your food freedom questions. And I love that we're already talking and thinking about it now. I think that's great. And I'm so glad that you're feeling so well on your Whole30. Michelle is saying, I've never done this sort of program before, and you were scared that you wouldn't be successful, but you're on day 27. Good for you, Michelle. Good for you. You know, the Whole30 is unique. It's not a weight loss diet. We're not telling you foods that are good or bad. We're not trying to scare you into not eating certain foods, or shame you into not eating them, or calling them poison, or calling them toxic. Like, that's not what we do. We aren't telling you how you should eat forever. We're empowering you to figure out that information for yourself and make those decisions for yourself, because there's nobody who can better decide what is in your highest interest than you. No calculator on the internet, no diet guru, no cookbook author. Nobody can tell you what is in your highest interest in any given moment when it comes to food or drink but you. And we want to empower you to be able to make those decisions as best as you can with as much knowledge as you can, as much insight, as much personalized information. And that's what the Whole30 does for you. So you probably haven't done anything like this before. And I get that you are nervous coming into it. Most people are. But here you are on day 27, keeping that promise to yourself, eating Whole30, reaping all the benefits, focusing on all the non-scale victories. I'm really happy for you and I'm really proud of you. And you should be really proud of yourself. This is a really big deal. Doing the Whole30 is a big deal. It's about food, but it's about so much more than food. And the benefits that you will gain from your Whole30 will spill over into every single area of your life. You've probably already seen it, but you're going to watch it happen. And it's going to be so motivating and so encouraging. And it's going to give you so much self-confidence and so much self-efficacy. And you're going to continue to empower yourself. And you are now on this like really happy, I call it the happy Ferris wheel, which just goes round and round and round. And every time you do something good for yourself, it makes you feel better. And that makes you want to do more good things for yourself, which makes you feel better. That's where you are on day 27. And we're really happy to have you. And I'm really happy for you, Michelle. Good work. Now's a good time to remind you to subscribe to our Whole30 YouTube channel. Subscribe and hit that little thumbs up button, please, to say that you like the video so that other people who want to do the Whole30 can find information coming straight from the source, straight from us, not from some random person talking about Whole30 who may or may not know what they're talking about. Elena wants to know, is paleo considered staying close to the Whole30? Yeah, it really is. So paleo is a general dietary framework that doesn't have any one set definition. It kind of, whether something is paleo or not, kind of depends on who you ask. So for the most part, though, a paleo diet does include meat, seafood, and eggs, vegetables and fruit, natural healthy fats, natural sugars. In some environments, it also includes things like dark chocolate or red wine. Kind of depends on who you ask, right? Mark Sisson's version, which is primal, tends to be a bit more expansive than, say, Lauren Cordain's version, which only includes lean meats and not fatty cuts of meat. So it kind of depends on who you ask. But in general, the framework is very similar to a Whole30. You don't hear the phrase paleo used as much as you did 10 years ago, but sometimes you'll hear people describe a menu as paleo or a way of eating as paleo. And yes, that generally means no grains or like limited grains. Typically legumes and soy are out. A lot of processed foods are out. That's kind of a general framework. So there is a lot of overlap. Absolutely. Michelle is asking, what's the website to find a functional medicine doctor? It would be IFM, Institute of Functional Medicine. So ifm.org, I believe it is. And they should be able to help you find a functional medicine doctor in your area, or one that practices online telehealth as well. And I'm really glad that you are excited to create a food freedom plan. I'm excited to help y'all create it. Pascal is saying, I'm having the same issue on a plant-based Whole30. You've been plant-based. Oh, I'm assuming you're talking about the digestion, Pascal. You've been plant-based for 5 years, but you're eating more legumes and veggies than usual. Yes. Yes. So even though you have been plant-based for 5+ years, on the plant-based Whole30, because we're eliminating like all forms of grains, which might include grains that you were using as a protein source like quinoa, and because we're eliminating like more processed forms of soy, which would eliminate a lot of the plant-based burgers and maybe other plant-based like meat alternatives that you might have been eating, you probably are eating more legumes and definitely more vegetables, which I think is great, but it can be digestively demanding, especially the legumes and then especially the veggies. So again, a couple tips here. More cooked veggies than raw. You can go to our low FODMAP shopping list, and if you want to spend a week eating only low FODMAP veggies, there's still a lot to choose from, but that way you could potentially eliminate any of the issues that might come along with a high FODMAP food, because legumes by design are very high FODMAP. So you're now combining foods that are high FODMAP with other veggies that are high FODMAP. That could be helpful. And you may discover when you're done with your plant-based Whole30 that our form of plant-based doesn't work perfectly well for you, that you need to bring in other sources of protein so you don't have to eat as many legumes. And maybe that would include some animal protein. Maybe it's fish once in a while or eggs once in a while. Maybe it's dairy once in a while, or maybe it's no animal products, but you just expand your plant-based protein sources beyond what's in the Whole30 elimination phase. So all of that makes total sense to me. And I think you have a lot of options during reintroduction to help you figure it out. Meredith is wondering about sugar versus stevia. You've broken your Splenda habit with Whole30. Is stevia just a replacement? Well, it depends on how you're looking at it. It is exactly the same if you're talking about it from the component of added sugar, from the perspective of added sugar, in that it kind of doesn't matter whether you're sweetening something with maple syrup or stevia or coconut sugar or Splenda. It's designed to make things taste sweeter. So from that perspective, yes, it's all the same. So is stevia a replacement for Splenda? Yes, because your Splenda was designed to make things sweeter, and that's exactly what the stevia does as well. Now, you could talk about the different formats of sugar and their impact on blood sugar regulation or your insulin levels or their glycemic index. You could talk about the degree of sweetness, because there are certain sweeteners that are far sweeter than others in the same quantity, right? Monk fruit, for example, is a very sweet sweetener compared to, say, table sugar. So I'm not going to say there aren't differences, but from this perspective, it kind of doesn't matter whether you're sweetening your coffee with Splenda or stevia or sugar. You are adding something to make it sweeter. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. I don't think so. Not necessarily. I would never say that sugar is bad. We don't call any food good or bad. I think some people do react poorly to artificial sweeteners. There's anecdotal evidence to suggest that some people don't react well to artificial sweeteners and may react or respond better to a more natural sweetener. You may discover that the stevia works better in your coffee than the Splenda did, simply because of the impact the Splenda was having on your joint pain and swelling or your carpal tunnel syndrome. Lots of anecdotal evidence there. The science is not super solid from what I understand, or at least more research needs to be done. But hey, if it's your lived experience, I'm absolutely not going to question it. And if you say, I do better with stevia than I do with Splenda, cool. If you're asking, should I stop sweetening things altogether, whether it's with Splenda or stevia, I can't answer that for you. In my food freedom, I love the sweetened nut pods. In fact, I'm drinking some right now. This is my mud water, and I chose to use the sweetened nut pods in my mud water this morning. It's the only place in my day where I add sugar. I don't add sugar to my sweet potatoes. My salad dressings don't have added sugar because I'm only using, I just only have Whole30 dressings. But I find that little hit of sweetness in the morning so delicious. Oh, it's so delicious. We're going to talk about sweetened nut pods when we talk about reintroducing sugar. It's sweetened with erythritol, so it's a sugar alcohol. Some people don't react well to erythritol or sugar alcohols. I do. I have no problems with it in my digestion. And that little hit of sweetness first thing in the morning just makes me so happy in my food freedom. So I do it. I do it once in a while, and I love it. And it doesn't stir up sugar cravings. And it doesn't make me want to drink 8 mud waters. And it doesn't upset my digestion or my energy or my mood. Has no negative impact whatsoever. And I find it delicious. So guess what? I'm going to keep doing it. And if that's the case for you, if you find that stevia in your coffee in the morning when we reintroduce added sugar just works great for you, and you think it's, you like it better because it just feels more natural to you than an artificial sweetener, go for it. Absolutely. That's what your food freedom is all about. Henry is persistently trying to agree with me right now. He very much agrees. So that's what I'll say about added sugar. We can talk about this a lot more when we get to that day in reintroduction. But if you broke your Splenda habit, awesome. If you don't want to return to a habit of needing to sweeten things, then stevia is exactly the same. If that's not your goal, and you're like, I'm just looking for a more natural sweetener, then stevia probably works. We can talk about more, but hopefully that discussion helps. And I hope I didn't trigger anyone mentioning the sweetened nut pods. We are going to talk about that during reintroduction. Amber is saying, oh, okay, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but The past week, it felt like part of you isn't even counting the days. You just feel really good. It's not a big deal. But then like also a part of you wants a cheeseburger. Totally get it. Totally get it. Why don't you make a burger with a little Kite Hill cream cheese over the top and like a good crisp lettuce wrap, and maybe make some like sweet potatoes in the air fryer and just enjoy that burger, because the burger part's amazing. And like maybe you're not going to have the cheese right now, but if you're craving a burger, definitely have a burger. And then yeah, when reintroduction is over, that's the fun part. You get to compare what a burger with cheese feels like to the burger you had 3 days ago that didn't have any cheese, and compare your experience and decide how cheese works for you in this context. And that is going to be the fun part. So I love to hear it. Let's see. Oh yeah, Kathleen, here you go. Bobby started January 4th. So you've got a friend here for another couple days. Matthew, who is Emily, do you have a favorite barbecue sauce? Okay, Emily, I did not used to be a barbecue sauce person. In fact, if you had asked me a couple years ago, I would have been like, I don't like it. Guess what changed my mind? The new Primal's smoky barbecue sauce. That is the best barbecue sauce I have ever had. Now, I will also say that that has set me off into a journey of barbecue sauces. And I have found others that I really like, from the new Primal, from Primal Kitchen. There are other Whole30 approved brands that make a barbecue sauce. Try them if you want to. But I will tell you that the new Primal's smoky barbecue sauce is the sauce that made me love barbecue sauces. It is so good. So that's my favorite. People can also share their favorites in comments, but that's the one that changed my mind. They get the award. Kate is saying, I like to keep it simple, focus on what I can eat, not what I can't. Absolutely. I tell people I eat meat and seafood, fruits, veggies, healthy fats. Perfect. Yes. Have that little elevator pitch. Anytime, I'll tell you a little secret, anytime somebody on a podcast is like, so what do you eliminate on the Whole30? One of the tricks that I've learned in media training is that you just answer the question you want to answer. Pay attention when you see like politicians or actors and actresses or like other people doing interviews. They don't answer the question that was asked. They answer exactly what they want to answer. And I'm not annoying about it, because it can be super annoying when somebody continues to ask you questions and you like dodge and evade. But when someone says to me, what can't you eat on the Whole30? What I say is, the first thing I'd like to do is tell you what we are eating on the Whole30. Meat, seafood, and eggs, tons and tons of vegetables, any fruit you want, lots of natural healthy fats, fresh herbs, fresh seasonings. And our recipe creatives are so incredibly talented in putting these delicious meals together. Sometimes I'll even say, if you've ever had a steak with barbecue sauce and roasted potatoes and a skewer of veggies on the grill, that's a Whole30 meal right there. So I'll show people that stuff that they have eaten is totally Whole30 compatible. If you've ever had a veggie scramble for breakfast with sweet potato hash, avocado, and a side of fresh berries, that's a Whole30 meal. So that's some of the ways that I use to let people know what we are eating. And then yes, if somebody asks me, I will definitely talk about what we eliminate. But I always open with what we are eating, because it's so broad, it's so expansive. I think about, did you all see that Weight Watchers tweeted at us? They threw some shade not too long ago. I had a field day with it, but their tweet said something like, it's ironic for a program called the Whole30 that there isn't a whole lot you can eat. I mean, first of all, like that's a dad burn if I ever heard one. I was not super impressed with the quality of that burn. But when you think about it, there's actually a ton you can eat on the Whole30. There's a ton. I'll look at any of our cookbooks or through any of our recipe feeds. Like, we're not hungry. We're not starving. We're not feeling deprived. So it's definitely a weird flex when somebody's like, oh, but you can't eat. Like, what can you eat? A lot. A whole lot of a bunch of really delicious, good whole foods. So yes, that's one of my favorite TED Talks. Thank you for that opportunity, Kate. Claire is saying, you craved candy last night, remembered yesterday's live. You set a timer for 10 minutes, and when it went off, the craving disappeared. Yes. I hope you high-fived yourself. Victory, high five. Good work. That's exactly what you do. Set a timer for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I'm curious, like, what did you do in those 10 minutes? Because if you just stood there and stared at the timer, might have been harder for that craving to go away. I'm betting you did something. I'm betting you like tidied an area, you did some meal prep, you folded some clothes, you put some stuff away. you got the mail, you broke down some cardboard boxes. Like, these are all things that I do in the evening in my like putter time. I'm betting you did something like that. And then, yeah, the craving goes away. And I love that. Good job. Good job. I like that. Let's see. So, okay, you've enjoyed mustard-based barbecue sauce or Carolina style. Yes, Primal Kitchen does have a golden barbecue sauce that I also really do like now. And then the new Primal also has a mustard barbecue sauce that I like. So again, I've tried a lot of the barbecue sauces, but yes, there are different styles and flavors. One of the things that I figured out is that there is more of a vinegar-based barbecue sauce, and then there's like a sugar-based barbecue sauce. And I am partial to the vinegar-based sauces. I like the tartness. I don't like the really sweet stuff. When I was pregnant with my son, I had uncontrollable cravings for sour. I would make a salad and I would put only vinegar on it, no oil. I would dump so much lemon juice into my water. I was obsessed with drinking like apple cider vinegar. I only wanted sour things when I was pregnant. I had no sweet cravings whatsoever. And then when I had him, those sour preferences continued. So I am like, give me all the sour apple cider vinegar stuff. Give me all of the lemon, all of the lime, any vinegar whatsoever. So that's my preference for barbecue sauces as well. So I'm glad that you pointed out that there are a couple different like styles to it. I'm not a BBQ sauce aficionado, I won't say, but I do know what I like. Lisa is saying, for an NSV, you're finally listening to your body. You would finish eating whatever was on your plate if your body was saying stop. And now, if you're full, you save it. That's so good. I say all the time, and I'm always just talking to myself, that your body has been trying to send you messages every moment of every day for your entire life, and it just wants you to listen. Your body is so happy when you listen to it, and it wants to give you good information about what's in your best interest. And I love that the Whole30 can restore that mind-body connection to the point where not only are you listening, but you're trusting the signals it is sending you. Because in the past, we may have listened, right? We would recognize like, oh, I'm hungry, but then we overrode that. Nope, I can't be hungry. It's not time for lunch yet. Nope, I can't be hungry. I've eaten all my points for the day. Nope, I can't be hungry because I already finished that meal and I don't get to eat again until 6 p.m. We would listen, but we wouldn't trust and we wouldn't honor. And what I'm hearing now is that you're listening and you're trusting and you're honoring. And to me, that feels really special and really impactful. So that's quite the NSV. I really like hearing that. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, Thrive Market also has some amazing barbecue sauces. Yes. Let's see, how are we doing? Melanie is saying, I'm feeling kind of anxious about working your food freedom because you've never been great at it. So I completely understand. And Melanie, I'd be curious to know, have you ever done a Whole30 with a proper reintroduction? Because most of the time when people tell me I've never been able to like get off on a solid foot with my food freedom, not like, oh, I work my food freedom great, but after a year it kind of falls apart. That's like, okay, I get that. That's normal. But if people say I've never been able to find my footing in food freedom, 99 times out of 100, they've never done a proper reintroduction. And without reintroduction, there is no food freedom. You will not know how to answer, is it worth it? Do I want it? And you're just out there flying blind. So to back it up, before we even talk about food freedom, we are going to talk about reintroduction. And we are going to make sure that you have a thorough, complete, relaxed, aware, grounded reintroduction experience that is going to inform your food freedom. And from there, we're going to talk about working your food freedom plan. I assume that you have food freedom forever and that you can reread it or start reading it for the first time or listen to it on audiobook. That would be really helpful. And then I can think about other resources that I think would be great to support your food freedom. There's a book that's coming out, I think in February, from a good friend of mine who's a therapist that I will recommend. But let me think about putting together a list of food freedom resources that would be supportive of the mindset aspect, but like aren't food freedom forever. So let's talk about resources that aren't 100% on the nose that I will craft for you in a Whole30 newsletter that will come out sometime like mid to late February. I'm going to talk to my team about this. Books to support mindset. And it's from Emily. Gotcha. Okay. I love this. I'm going to do a quick screenshot actually of this comment so I can save it for later. Brilliant. Love it. Thank you. I've got you covered. Loving the conversation about gut health and stools. Yours were loose last night. Upped your water intake today and feel okay. How could I forget probiotics? How could I forget? I did a podcast with Dr. Michael Ruscio. We talked about the way that dietary changes can have such a tremendous positive impact on gut health, and also that you can't always expect dietary changes to like fix everything. That's not feasible or reasonable. And what else you can do in support of achieving better gut health. Obviously, probiotics are a really foundational support for your gut. I do like Dr. Michael Ruscio's probiotic approach and the probiotics he has formulated. They're the ones that I have been using for many years. I think they came out 3 or 4 years ago, so I've been using them since then. But thank you for reminding me that probiotics can also be just a good general supplement for everybody, whether you're doing a Whole30 or not, to support excellent gut health. And you also reminded me that I am out and I need to order more. So thank you so much. Can you tell me, please, in the chat how to pronounce your name? Because I don't want to get it wrong, but I also would like to say your name. So if you wouldn't mind adding how I can pronounce it, and that way I make sure I get it right, and I won't forget for next time. But I've seen you in several lives, and when I don't know how to pronounce someone's name, I usually ask. Thank you for sharing that. Melanie is saying, yes, you have done a reintroduction, but it's been more than a few years, so it's time to revisit. Gotcha. This reintroduction is going to be different. It's going to be better. This is going to be like the best reintroduction that anyone's ever had, because we are really going to go for it. We are going to go for it in a way that we haven't as a group in years. I've done webinars before. We're going to talk about that. But like, I'm going to lead and guide you through a very specific schedule. We're going to talk about it. We're going to touch base every couple days. This one's going to be the best one yet. Can we please have a daily Melissa hour post Whole30 to get guidance? Yeah. So Wendy, it's so funny. I was talking to my husband and I was like, I am both like these, the YouTube lives are 6+ hours of my week. So it's time consuming. But I said to my husband, like, I love them. I love doing them. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like so much fun and I really enjoy them and the hour flies by. I think I want to keep them up like well after the Whole30. Like, can I just do like a once a week live check-in with people? And he was like, yeah, I think you absolutely should. I think we would end up doing them in the evenings. I will do a poll on my Instagram. We'll talk about the best times for it. I think evenings are probably easier for people to tune in, where it's like you can have them on your commute or while you're meal prepping. So I'm feeling like we'll do it like early evening. But the answer is yes. I'm absolutely going to continue to show up here. I don't know the frequency. I don't know the timing. We'll figure that out together. But like, hell yes, I will continue to show up here because I love it. And I'm super glad that you love it too. And thank you. I think that's great. Emily did a burger with queso and bacon and mushrooms with a side of veggies. Oh, Emily must feel so deprived on this Whole30 diet. There's like nothing you can eat. I'm so sad that your meals are so sad. That sounds like such diet food. Burger, Primal Kitchen queso, or core and rind queso. Have you tried the core and rind queso yet? I'm going to put it in the chat. They're new. A new Whole30 approved partner. Female owned. They are in Thrive Market. And I absolutely love it. But that sounds like a really good meal. And I am absolutely down for it. Oh, good. Okay. It's like the perfume Chanel, but an R, Renelle. Thank you. I'm so glad that you told me that. And that's also really pretty. Renelle. I'm going to remember that. And hopefully I'm saying it right. Renelle. I like it. So you had a doctor's appointment this morning. And the first thing they do is weigh you. Closed your eyes. Didn't peek. Good for you. I mean, I can't think of a time that something good came out of seeing my scale weight at the doctor's office. I can't. I don't have a lot of body dysmorphia. Well, is that true? No, that's like kind of true. Who doesn't? But I don't enjoy being on the scale. I just don't. And seeing the scale weight at the doctor's office, even though sometimes they put it in kilos to make you do the math because they know that patients get anxious around their scale weight, which is like, hello, red flag. Anyway, no good comes of it. So if they weigh me, I usually don't pay attention either. I try not to look, or I try not to care. But good for you for sticking to it during your Whole30. I love that you're taking that seriously. Laura is saying, I feel like we're eating the best tasting gourmet combinations as we eat Whole30 meals. Yes. I mean, yes. Look at some of the recipes all of the recipes that are out there. Even the basic ingredient meals are so flavorful, so delicious, so many veggies and fresh herbs and spices. And then when you talk about making your own really creative sauces and dressings and using ingredients in different ways, yeah, we're eating pre-gourmet over here. That's what I would say. Melanie, I'm really glad that you love them, and it definitely feels worth it for me. Absolutely. Betsy wants to do a book club. I know we should. We should do a Boundaries book club at some point. That would be really fun too. Lemonada Media right now is doing a Boundaries book club. I shared it in my stories the other day, but if you want to go to Lemonada on Instagram, they are doing a Boundaries book club, and it's totally free to join, and you could join in if you wanted to. Yeah, it is like hanging out with friends, Abby. I like that too. It's fun. For me, it's super fun to come in and see the same names every morning. And I'm like, oh, hey, Renelle, how's it going? Oh, hey, Kathleen, how's your Whole30 going? Abby, good to see you. Genevieve, hi from Spain. It's nice. It does make me feel like we're chatting with friends, and that feels really easy. What was the name of the prebiotic guy? Dr. Michael Ruscio. Whole30 just linked it down there. Yes. That's the podcast that I did with Dr. Ruscio. He's a good friend of mine. He wrote a book called Healthy Gut, Healthy You, which is like the gut health Bible. He's one of those really interesting functional medicine doctors that works with patients as much as he's in the current research and literature. And he's actually published literature himself. Usually it's like one or the other. You get these doctors that work with patients and they have a ton of patient experience, but they're not super immersed in what the latest scientific findings say. Or you get these super smarty pants people who are super immersed in the science and they understand all the current literature, they're up to date, but they don't work with actual people. So when they try to translate the science to recommendations, it kind of falls flat sometimes because they don't actually work with people and they don't know what actually works in real life. Michael is the perfect mix of both. He works with real patients and gets amazing results, and he's super deep in the science and really smart. Anyway, I love him. He's a dear friend, but he's also the person that I trust with my gut health. He is my functional medicine doctor when I need gut stuff or when I'm really struggling with gut stuff. And his probiotic line is definitely the best and the one I recommend. So there you go. Thanks for sharing the Lemonada book club info. Yes. So if you want to check out the book club, then you can go to Lemonada. Emily is listening to Boundaries right now on Audible. I love that. I read it myself. So that makes me really happy. Danny is saying, I missed you the last few days, but an NSV is that you're not white knuckling anymore, so you can check it a bit less. I like that. That's a really, really good, where you're like, oh, like it'd be nice to join in. I'll watch on the replay, but you're not white knuckling your way through them. That makes me really, really happy. Well, okay, we're wrapping up here on day 24. Tomorrow is Thursday. Oh, Henry is like just asleep on the floor. You haven't seen his little head pop up. Tomorrow is going to be day 25. Tomorrow is the day. So tomorrow we're going to talk about whether or not extending your Whole30 is right for you. We've already had this conversation once, but if you want to talk about it again, that's when it comes up. And then the 26th, day 26, which is this coming Friday, is going to be reintroduction day. This is the day where I'm going to have my schedule all ready to go and all laid out. I'm working with the Whole30 HQ team right now on what that looks like and when we're going to show up for live. So I will have all of that for you by Friday. So hopefully you found that helpful. And yes, thanks for joining. It was really fun today. I'm going to schedule tomorrow's for the correct time. Not 2 hours late like I did today, but that's okay. And you can find me as usual over on Instagram. If you want to send comments or thoughts, you can join me on my Substack subscription service. There's a highlight in my Instagram photo, in my Instagram profile. Over there, we're chatting today in Substack about how we navigate like mean comments or negative comments on the internet. It's a really good discussion. And you will see me again here at the same time tomorrow. So yes, Crystal, you're just joining. That's okay. You can watch us on the replay. We were just about to sign off, but I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us. Reading a lot of gut health books and prep for reintro. I love to see that. Michael Ruscio's book, Healthy Gut, Healthy You, is a must read, and I absolutely love it. Thanks for being here. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your Whole30 Day 24. Bye.